So welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the bunker. It is a bit bright today, so we'll see if we can get a better angle on this before we start. Yeah, maybe stand there. Thanks so much for the support on the previous video. I'm glad you enjoyed it, you liked it. Today's video, I promised you I was going to do a behind the scenes, and I thought about this for a little bit. I thought, how can I do a behind the scenes that really will help you, the viewers, to understand how I have built this, how I integrated it into the hillside. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. You know, I'm always, you're used to seeing me doing let's build videos. I'm going to break down various elements of the build today. I'm going to show you what mods, the main mods that I used and how I used them in the build, and hopefully you'll find it useful for your own builds. Please let me know if you enjoy this type of video and whether it's worth doing more of these in the future. I'm going to give you an overview of the main mods I used in the build. I will leave a list of as many as I can remember mods that I used overall, and then I will work through each of the mods individually and what kind of the significant pieces added to the build were. So before we do that, I just wanted to remind you where we were. We're kind of, if you do a triangle between the Lonely Channel and Sunshine Tidings, we're kind of right there. So that's where I built. So let's get into the mods now. So we used 4 mods in the build, and I'll go through them probably not in order, but the first one I'll get out of the way is Workbench Anywhere, Workbench Anywhere by Andrew CX. I did do a explanation on how I used this in the previous video, so go and check that out if you haven't already, and it'll show you how I use this mod and how I set it up for use, if that makes sense. So Dead Wasteland for Xbox One is one of my newer mods, and it's brought to us by Boo Del Mar. You can see it's quite a large download, but boy oh boy, it offers so much content that you don't find with other mods, and I'm really enjoying exploring this. I haven't got nearly anywhere through the mod and know the where everything is yet, and it's really nice to be discovering things as we go. I think this is available for all platforms actually, and it says runs using the vanilla game and no DLCs required, which is what I like about it. In this build as well, we use the grounded mod. This is ported by Cordless, but essentially the mod author, I think, is Serena. Originally was, I think from memory, a PlayStation mod. It's available on all consoles. I have the Workshop Rearranged compatible version. It just saves me running a patch with this. And I'll explain a little bit about how this works as we get into the video. And of course, thirdly and not lastly is, and this is an Xbox specific mod. Now I'm not sure if other mods have the elements that I used in this build in them. Maybe need to do a little bit of exploration if I can ever find this particular mod I'm looking for. There it is there. And that's called Settlement Objects Expansion Pack, and I basically used this for some of the floors and walls in the bunker. I've been using this mod for a very long time. I love it to death. It's brought to you by CC Mads. It's not overly big, it's 66 megs, which I guess it's reasonable, but it does offer so much. Requires DLC, and also it loads all these different elements into different menus. So one in the structures menu, one in the decoration menu, one in the lighting, power menu, etc. So there are the main mods that I used. There were several others, and I will list them down below in the description so you can see what those were. So as I get into updating Cheat Terminal, I wanted to put this in to start with, and it's a technique I use a lot. And if you've been with the channel a while, you've seen me do this before, but especially with these kind of builds where I'm not quite sure how much room I've got, what the heights are like, how the layout's going to look, etc. I use the prefabs to just map out roughly where everything's going to go and how everything's going to work, what kind of size I've got to work with as far as area goes, you know, the layout, etc. It's something I've done for a long time, and for me it works for me. These don't actually stay there. It's really, as I said, just a mapping process to see how much workable area, and I usually use it in these kind of more difficult areas that I'm just not quite sure what it's going to give me, just so I can kind of get a visual idea of how this is going to work. Now, you know, I've guesstimated it where I've put everything. This can also help you kind of sort out how far forward, how far back within that simple area things I've got to go. And of course you can pick this up with a pillar and move it around before you start building, just so you get the kind of placement right. And here I'm just trying to figure out how to get up into this, where the bunker's going to be, how the flow is going to work, where I'm going to have to put floors, etc, etc. And again, yeah, I just find it, for me, it's a very useful way of doing things, and maybe something that will help you in your build. So hence why I've left it in, just so you can kind of see how my brain kind of works as far as the build process. And this is kind of where we end up as far as and you see there's foundation block from grounded there. That's just in there. Again, I'm just trying to figure a whole lot of things out. So let's get into settlement objects expansion pack, and I'll show you how I use that. So initially what I'm using is I'm using the high-tech floors in here, just to map all this area. And you can see I'm starting to get rid of these prefabs now. As I said, it was only a tool to map at. So I'll put all these floors in here, and there's a whole, you can see as I'm flicking through some of these menus, there's a whole heap of floors available to you, different metal floors and whatnot, and it just gives it a little bit of a better look, a different look, sorry. Now, what I end up doing here as well is I end up changing, so I put all these out first, and I end up changing the floors a little bit to kind of define things just a little bit more. Now you can see I can put that in there, but it's going to give me issues as far as walls and stuff go. So again, this is a worthwhile process just to figure out where the walls are going to snap, and I'm not sure if I then snap the separate floors on. I think I do now. And again, understand that by using these kind of quarter floors, it changes the snap points for your walls, and so hence why I'm doing it this way. So this will be the corridor, the main corridor through into the lounge room, the kitchen area if you've seen the video, and then we'll put the original floors that I had in, these ones, back in where they were, and now we're defining the rooms with these floors. Now here's the main reason I picked this mod to use, because it offers these high-tech walls, which I actually love. I've used them a bit lately. Now the door was being a bit of a pain, and I think I actually end up having to pull out one of those floor pieces to get it to snap. But again, it's just one of those build order things, and you can see, there we go, see, this is what I'm doing now. See if this will work, whether it's just a build order problem. So we'll see if we can get this door to snap, and it does straight away. So sometimes, and it's not just this mod, it's with a lot of mods. And what I decided to do, what you can see, there's a whole lot of different walls there. So I decided to use the different coloured walls, as we're going to Oh no, he got out of there. Dogmeat got out of there before we trapped him underneath. I'm going to use the different coloured walls to define different areas. So this is going to be the growing area that we made. So we got a little viewing, window, and then I start having a good look around these different walls, and I come up with these round walls in a second. Much faffage later. There we go. We find these ones. I go, oh, okay, it's quite a different. It makes quite a different look. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll put one of these round walls in. There you go. And again, it's lots of little touches like this. Just experiment and see what works. I think this makes it the room look a lot more interesting than just square walls, and kind of defines that room and makes it a little bit more unique. Now, it's at this point I realise these are a 45-degree wall for some reason. And one of the things that you just got to be careful with this mod is that the wall's size matches up. See, that doesn't match up for some reason. But if you scroll along, there we go, a little bit further, there you go, now they match up. So there's a few areas you just got to be careful from in this mod, but this is why I used this, and this is the walls I used in the build. And I'd highly recommend it. There's a lot to the SOE mod. Like I said earlier, I've used it for a long time and I love it. So we'll move on to our next mod. So you can see now that I've got this area defined, it's all kind of, there's all these areas underneath that need to look as though they're supported. And it's, you know, it's just a building sitting kind of suspended in midair almost. That's what it looks like. So we've got to work on building the kind of environment around this particular facility. So that's what I'm going to show you in the next couple of mods, and you know, these two mods are great at helping you do that. So initially my first thoughts was to use the grounded mod and try and kind of put some foundations underneath the building. Now the grounded mod, and I will be doing a mod review on this, the grounded mod is basically just reskinned concrete pieces. It's basically what it is. So therefore, if you've worked with the concrete tab in the past, or items in the past, you would understand how those work and how they interact with other items. So this is my first kind of way of thinking about doing it. Now what this will do for you as well is, I use these foundation blocks for a reason, because they actually add natural walls in underneath in the entranceway, which I end up using for a workshop area. They actually add natural walls to this. So the only problem with these, and you'll see it in a second once I get this one done, the only problem with these are then you've got to hide them anyway. You got to kind of make them blend into the environment. Otherwise they just like a weird kind of foundation block is just sitting there, and it really doesn't look natural at all. So there is a limitation with these, and so this was kind of my first thought about how to kind of start to work on building up the environment around the bunker. And of course, once you get to a certain point, and you can see Dogmeat has been very cooperative today, but once you get to a certain point you can start snapping things off, and they will also, I think that's kind of probably because of the mods I'm running, they will also snap on top. So done this for a while, stood back, went, yeah, not really feeling it, what else can we use? However, through this process it actually sparked an idea for me, and I kind of run around the back here and I went, it would be really nice if we could blend the building into the environment somehow. And so I started snapping these foundations off and just to see what it's got what the height is like, and whether we could actually smooth this whole area to look as though it's just, you know, level with the ground above us, and whether we could actually put this make this look as though it was actually there to start with. Now those trees are giving me a bit of a problem there, as you can see, but we'll work around those a little bit later. So I start putting these foundation blocks in like this, because what I've done is I've tried to match the grass in front of me there with these ones, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is actually got some potential to make it look as though, you know, if you walked in from this area, you wouldn't actually pick there was any kind of facility there. So everything starts to snap in nicely. What I love about the grounded mod is, you know, all these kind of other things will snap through it, and it starts to make it look blend in really nicely. So I'll do this for a while and then have a look at the roof and say, you know what, I wonder if I could replace the roof as well. And certainly that's the direction I end up going. The only problem with replacing the roof, because this is a reskinned concrete pieces, and you'll see in a sec, I'll get all the big pieces out first. They do have some issues, and I'll show you once I get some of this done what I'm talking about. So let's scroll right along to the kind of quarter pieces, these ones, and I always do this, I always put it on top so I can see what I'm doing. And you can see the issues that we have. It actually, because it's a concrete piece, it has these kind of this border around it, so it doesn't blend in seamlessly with the other pieces, which is something that I would like to see it do. But it just means you have to be a little bit inventive in how you hide these pieces when you can see all these kind of building walls are starting to poke through now, and it's all getting a bit messy. But I'll show you using the Dead Wasteland mod what you can do to kind of hide that in a while. The other thing that you need to be aware of is when you do this, then what I had to end up doing is line the ceiling downstairs because of the way that these pieces look underneath. And I ended up having to line those pieces with some of the steel ceiling pieces. But that's all kind of blending in. It's all starting to come together. And so we'll come back to that area in a second. And so we get into Dead Wasteland and how we can use that together with Grounded and the other mods. And staying in this area for now. So I've got a big kind of gap there. And because of those trees, and the fact that I'm using a Workbench Anywhere and I can't actually scrap those, I've got to work around them. So I can't get anything to snap in there. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to find somewhere to put this down. That's why I'm spinning it round. But those rocks, and these are from Dead Wasteland mod. You get these in a number of mods, USO and various others, Workshop Rearranged and stuff. I'm going to put those in here to plug up that gap. Sometimes just doing what I just did then is just by spinning it around, it might fit better. And now we're starting to use some little ingenious tricks just to try and get rid of some of these lines and block up some of these gaps. I will be showing you the front and how we use a lot of the items from Dead Wasteland in the front area in a second, but I thought we'd just stick in this area for now. The drama that I have with kind of these rocks and various items is just to find somewhere to place it, and some of them are better than others, I must admit. But you can see very quickly we can start to hide the fact that there's a gap there, that there's lines there, and this is the stuff you're going to have to do to really get this to blend into the environment. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You got to find the pieces that kind of interact with each other and make sense, and etc. etc. So See, there's one floor that I haven't put in there, so that I should. So now I'm going to start looking at these kind of piles of rubbish and to see if I can get it to fit into here. And it's just a case, probably in there would be nice actually. Just get it to go green first. See, it's a bit sensitive at times, so chucking it in there. There we go, like that. And suddenly that looks as though it's blending in quite nicely. So I'll play around with some of these piles of crap and I'll come back. And now also they've added grass into this mod. And again, you can find these kind of grasses in a number of different mods. SOE has them, USO has them, there's a number of mods that have them. And it's a case of just varying these up. Varying the different types of plants up and just building the layers. And you see this can very easily hide those kind of lines there if you position them in the right place. And yes, it's very repetitive, but it's actually quite therapeutic as well. And I think if you add all the same grasses in the same place, it looks as though it's kind of that you've done it and it's quite obvious. If you vary these up, then it looks a little less obvious. And so I'd encourage you to try all the different elements that it gives you, like this, and just see what you've got available, and just add a few in. Generally, what I do is what I'm doing here is I'll get one type of bush, I'll put a few or dot a few around, then I'll add the grasses in around it, and build it up like that. Now the other thing that the mod has is it's got a whole lot of dead trees. So which I hadn't really spent a lot of time really paying much attention to, but when I flicked through I actually found some really interesting things like that one that's broken, which I kind of thought, yeah, that could make an interesting design element. And of course, as you know, if you've watched the walkthrough, I end up using this. So again, add a whole lot of different elements, build it up, and it starts to look as though it should be there. So let's get on to the front and I'll show you what we did at the front. So one of the big challenges around the front was to get this looking as though it is within the environment and all kind of blends into the environment seamlessly. So I'd started with the grounded mod. The grounded mod kind of got me so far, and I thought, okay, so let's continue our exploration of dead wastelands and just see what potentially it gives me. And I found these cliffs and I went straight away, that's what I'm looking for. This is perfect, and you can see them dotted around the environment we're already in. The biggest drama again is to try and find somewhere to put these down so that you can grab them with either the pillar or place anywhere or whatever your tool of choice is, and drop them down. Now the big thing that you've got to watch for when using these, there's a few things. First one, of course, is that it isn't poking through the existing structure, the walls and stuff. The other thing is, you can see that was a little bit high when I initially had it, and so you can see it's poking through, so I'm going to have to back that off just a fraction, but already that's much better and is exactly what I need. The only thing is, as you can see, there's no back to these, so you got to just be careful how you use them. And there we go. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Okay, there's a gap there, but we can fill that gap pretty easily, and it actually gives me a little platform for this house to sit on, which I like a lot. And you can see it's giving it some depth. So really nice additions to this mod. Helped me a lot in this particular build. I haven't seen, I might be wrong, yeah, I mean, leave me a comment and tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I haven't actually seen these cliffs in too many mods, so these were just perfect for what I was doing here. And you can just use these to build on. They are a little bit tricky to use, but once you kind of master how they work, you shouldn't have too many dramas. There we go. So I started to build the layers. There is a little bit of a, it's sitting off the ground there, so I had to address that. And so I got these rocks again, dropped them in there, and then that sent me in another direction on combining the rocks and these cliff pieces together and getting them to blend in, so it all looks as though this building blends into the environment. You can see that's actually starting to work really nicely. There's lots and lots of different elements to choose from here, and that'll fit perfectly in there. Back it off a little bit, drop it in, and you wouldn't actually be able to tell that you wouldn't be able to tell that that's sitting off the ground at all. So it kind of prompts me into thinking, well, there's still some issues here. You know, you can see a gap underneath. You can still see some of the foundation. So I need to address those a little bit. And so I start to build a little bit more with the rocks up the side and make some natural gullies now. Again, find these rocks, find the ones you like first. Then you will have to find somewhere where you can place them down. But they are pretty soft. And once you find that one spot where they will sit, there it is there. That's where you place your rocks all the time. You only need to find that spot once, and then you're good. And so I'm just having a quick look at what I've got to play with as far as items are concerned. That sits in there nicely, and suddenly that foundation corner has gone. You can't see it anymore. It looks pretty natural, and it doesn't matter what it looks like underneath. I have to do some work addressing. You can see how a few of that those elements are poking through that shack at the bottom. I have to spend a bit of time tidying that up later, but you know, for now it's all working. And so that's as simple as it is, guys. You just have to then work with all those different elements, build them up as you need to, add them in, and keep just layering different rocks, different cliffs, grass, bushes, the whole lot, until you're fairly happy with it. And then it's just a case of getting inside and doing the decoration. So I hope you've enjoyed. This is a little bit of a different video than what I've done in the past. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, I'd appreciate a like rating. I'd also appreciate your feedback and your comments to say, yeah, we liked it, or we liked this part of it, not so much that part of it. And if you have enjoyed it, then we may think about doing a few more videos like this in the future as we do builds. So thanks for the support, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Gaming for XP. See ya! Sure you keep up with all the new content on Gaming for XP. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll let you know once we've uploaded anything that's new. See ya!